We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on the Buffalo Bills defense to see how the Dolphins offense can match up against it. Their performance versus Washington, they had a very, very elite performance. Obviously, the Dolphins offense had probably the best performance an offense has ever had in NFL history, so it should be a really great battle back and forth. We're going to see how the Bills really took advantage of the Washington offense, and I don't think they're going to be able to do the same thing to the Dolphins because they got a lot of sacks, a lot of pressures, but it was a lot of those were just Sam Howell holding on to the ball for a very long time. Tua's not going to do that. I think the Dolphins offense just has better concepts to attack this stuff. They bring a lot of four-man rushes, and they play a lot of zone behind it. But the Bills do a really good job here. They motion across, and they do a very nice job of just not covering grass. This is cover 3, but look how they bring this guy over. No one's covering this side of the field. No one's just sitting in his deep third. He's matching here. They distribute up this very nicely. Milano does a good job out in the depth. And then there's only that underneath option. They only bring 4, but you can see Sam Howell holds on to this way longer than Tua ever would, and it would be a slightly different concept. So I just don't think it's going to be this one-to-one thing. The Bills defense won't be doing as good as they did last week. The Dolphins offense won't be doing as good as they did last week, but I just feel a lot more confident that it was more of, the Dolphins just being very unstoppable versus almost anyone. This is more comparable to the Patriots game. The Patriots couldn't stop the run. When the Bills go too high, you'll see later that they struggled to stop the run in this game. When they go single high like this, cover 3, they would stop the run. And this Dolphins offense can take advantage once they go too high in the running game for sure. And they're going to be way more successful passing the ball just due to the concepts and motions and Tua getting the ball very quickly. Their linebacker core is really good. They got to, be able to spread the middle of the field. You'll see it wasn't perfect for them in this game. There's definitely opportunities to take advantage of certain situations. And we'll see how the game plays out. It should be a good one. But I think the Patriots defense actually is a better matchup versus the Dolphins, personally, just because of Belichick and his play calling. I think it matches better versus the Dolphins. Bills might have more talent on their defensive side, but I think it's going to be easier for McDaniel to take advantage of McDermott in this one. We saw how much they put up a lot of points last year with Skylar Thompson at quarterback in the playoffs. So I feel pretty confident that this team the Dolphins are going to show up, and they really want to beat the Bills in Buffalo. This ends up being a completion at the bottom of the screen. Bills go cover 1 here, and this is the type of thing you saw. If you watched the Dolphins game last season, Jalen Waddle got a very similar one-on-one look at the bottom like this, just Trey Wright at the bottom, and he burned him deep vertically. It was the second Bills game. And then, what I really want to focus on this play is, look, once they motion this across, things still get confused. Even though their linebackers are very good, things end up coming undone here. You can see how they overflow this. Teron Johnson and Milano, no one takes the tight end working across the middle. This is where Tua's first look would be against that defense. He might take the one-on-one shot, but if he isn't, he's looking right over the middle of the field. There's definitely holes to be taken advantage of. They do a better job with their corners, squeezing things, so I think it'll be tougher to, take those shots out of play action. They definitely will play more of a tight 1/3 when they're giving you those looks, but there's still these opportunities to attack, and you'll see a lot of their positive plays. Most of these plays that I'm going to end up showing are just very good plays by the Bills, but also very bad plays by Washington that I just don't see the Dolphins making very often. They're probably not going to be perfect, but it's not going to be even close to what Washington was performing. Here's another one of the Bills' sacks on 2nd and 18, right after that first play that I showed. They run an RPO, and Dolphins will run some RPOs, but I just don't understand these concepts. It's just the RPO with the quick out at the bottom, which he should just throw this. I don't know why he's not throwing it right as he's breaking. That would have been thrown with Tua. The backside, these guys are just sitting. These are not routes that the Dolphins will be running this offense. So this type of situation won't be happening. They'll run some RPOs, and if it's not there, you just throw it away right away. And so these types of sacks, these numbers we're putting up, this type of play just doesn't translate versus the Dolphins, in my opinion. It's not something you're going to see happen. And there's definitely room to take advantage of. Look how much these linebackers get sucked down. Look at this. If the Dolphins run RPO and have anyone running over the middle of the field like this, selling this, look, all this room to be taken advantage of. But the Commanders' offense just isn't working that way. That's exactly how the Dolphins' offense works. These linebackers are aggressive, even though they're going to be taught this week, hey, don't be as aggressive as usual. If they're not, then you can pound the running game. But if they're going to be as aggressive as they usually are, take advantage of this weakness because they can be attacking this part of the field all game long. Just think of the Dolphins' first pass play versus the Broncos, the play to Durham Smythe off the play action. That type of stuff's going to be there. There's going to be options for that. So we'll see how the Bills respond overall in that game. A lot of things the Bills do. They do disguise pre-snap. Tua is a very good pre-snap quarterback. If they're disguising, he's got to be paying attention to this stuff. They're showing that it could be like a quarters, possibly cover 6 type look. They rotate into a cover 3. This is also 3rd and 19, so these linebackers are getting more depth than they probably usually would. So I wouldn't say like if they just throw it underneath, like this space won't usually be here on normal downs and distances, but this is just a 3rd and 19, so the linebacker gains a bunch of depth. Hal hits the top of his drop and he just tries to throw it behind here, and these types of things will get picked off. I don't see Tua forcing these balls too often as much. Like he might try to make that throw as well, but I think more likely, from what we've seen this season specifically, he'll just dump it off. But that's just really good defense by the Bills. Situational football, situational understanding. This Terrell Bernard kid is very good. I was actually a big fan of him coming out of Baylor, and he's better than Edmonds in my opinion. I was never a huge Edmonds fan. I thought Milano was by far and away the better player. So their linebacker crew is pretty good. But they're both not the biggest guys, and they're both very, very aggressive. So I think, getting the running game going and play action behind could be huge for this offensive success, and that's exactly what the Dolphins do pretty much every game. Bills, go quarters. Just watch Matt Milano on this play. Look how aggressive he gets. He sees eyes, and he goes. Both of these linebackers are very, aggressive, and once they, read the eyes, body language of the quarterback, they're going to attack. Now, they might be taught this week to do that less versus Tua, but we see Milano in the pack. He should have had a pick 6 in the first game the Dolphins played on Tua, but he dropped the ball. Tua, I think, feels a lot more comfortable working against these linebackers now, so you got to take advantage. If they're going to get aggressive, manipulate with the eyes, I think this is an area where things could go really either way. Like the Bills defense will either make big plays, or the Dolphins offense are going to make some big options. You can see Dolphins are less likely to throw these curls like this, the hitches down 8 to 10 yards. They don't really run these types of concepts, but more aggressive, just open up the eyes. Say this was an in-breaker, Tua would 100% be hitting these windows all day long. The ball would be out exactly right here. And these are things that are definitely be open when you're running just pure zone against this Dolphins defense if you go into quarters, because that is something that they feel very comfortable attacking. And if you go man-to-man, they have the wide receivers to beat any corner. These corners cannot. I don't think the corners on this team can play man-to-man versus Hill and Waddle. They don't have the speed to, and they can. If they go press, you take your chances deep early, make them back off, and then that will open up some zones later on. They don't blitz often, but when they do, it's usually pretty successful. Similar to the Dolphins defense, they bring 6 here. Bills in cover one blitz. Hal, it's a 3rd and 9 situation, and all of their concepts here, just not a lot of room to work with. You'll see, I think, Hal was just struggling to identify anything in this game. This is good play calling by the Bills as well. Got to give them their credit too. Things just aren't there, but they went cover 1 man-to-man, and you're just less likely, I think, to see this type of thing go versus the Dolphins. It's got to be a perfect play call against exactly what the Dolphins called for this to be more successful. So these are things that could really go either way, I think, in the matchup, just depending on the specific play call of the Dolphins offense. See, they go cover 1 here at the bottom. They try to press. We've seen the Dolphins take advantage of this. They almost had the one that I'm thinking of, Waddle. They had the opportunities in the playoff game with Skyler as well. Waddle had one where it was knocked out late, but he was open. It was slightly underthrown. If they press Dolphin, I guarantee you, if they are pressed up and play cover 1, the Dolphins will take the deep shot nearly every time. Tua always takes the deep shot when he sees cover 1 like this versus press man coverage, if he has that opportunity to Tyreek. So this is something that you can take advantage of versus defense. I just feel like those calls will be far and few between, because these guys, 47's been playing pretty well for them, but he is not very fast, and that's where, Tyreek and Waddle can really take over. Also, I think River Craycraft is actually a pretty big loss for this Dolphins offense, because he's a very sure-handed receiver on the outside who has a very good comfortability with Tua, and they like to rotate the receivers out, and I think, Waddle has to really, I think, take over for this game specifically. Bills go cover 1 down in the red zone. This should have been a touchdown. If he's reading this side over here, he just sees middle field safety. Once he reads here, this is 100% where Tua would have gone with the ball. This receiver on the slant. He looks over here first, right? Just to see what the safety is doing. He sees him looking to this side of the field, cheating this way from the middle. His first foot, he should hit the back foot, and this ball should already be out. This would be a touchdown for the Dolphins, but he doesn't. He throws it to this guy. They end up becoming short, and then they don't end up scoring and finishing on this drive. Just a lot of missed opportunities for Washington. Bills played really, really well. I saw people trying to compare their defense performance against the Dolphins' offense performance. I don't think it's comparable at all. I think what the Dolphins did was the best performance in offensive NFL history. Even the ones that scored more points, there was defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns. This Bills performance was amazing, elite, but we've seen this many, many of times. I really expect to see the Dolphins go empty. They did it in this Skyler game, and you saw Waddle get matched up on Milano at one point on the 3 receiver side. I 100% know McDaniel saw this on the film. See them go empty. They like to go nickel and keep in their 2 linebackers. And with their linebackers, look at this. Milano just pressed on a receiver here. How do you not see this pre-snap? And this is where you're going with the ball. They try to, help out with this safety here, but this option is just boom. Take that, you gain a free 10 yards. He goes to the other side of the field where it's less, open and they only gain 4. But I imagine the Dolphins are going to see that and go empty a decent amount. That's bread and butter in the NFL nowadays anyways. Bills go cover 3. They bring pressure off the edge here. They still only bring 4, but they blitz the linebacker. One of the, the guys ends up, dropping late, and they bring Milano. So this guy comes in unblocked. The ball should have already been out. Ball should have been out a minute ago. When you're hot like this off the edge, you throw it to your hot receiver. This is the hot option. Micah Hyde, first of all, from his pre-snap alignment, makes an amazing play. I know Jordan Poyer's out, but Micah Hyde is definitely the better safety, in my opinion, for this Bills defense. He makes plays. This is an amazing play, but this is also just Sam Howell not seeing it. I don't understand how he's not seeing the 3 guys come to this side, the blitz. This should have already been thrown. It's a 3rd and 1 situation. You only need 1 yard. Good chance it gets picked up if he throws it right away, but, didn't happen. And they get a big time interception. That, those types of plays, just see that. I would say that's a lot more rare if that happened for the Dolphins. I'm going to start showing the running plays. Washington had some success in the second half running the ball. Bills started going quarters, less people down in the box. Brian Robinson was making plays. You can see these lanes start to open up. He starts fighting, carrying these guys down the field. Linebackers aren't the biggest guys. They're pretty strong, but for their size, but they're not the biggest. You can attack to the second level. And if you saw how the Dolphins' offensive line looked, probably the best I've ever seen them look as a run-blocking unit this past week. Those lanes were huge. That is going to be another huge part of this game. Bills are every team, like you saw what the Patriots did. They might look at what the Patriots did because they were able to slow us down the most, but they were still able to run the ball successfully. So expect another big Mostert and Achane heavy dose this week. Not going to be the same effect as it was versus the Broncos, but will definitely be a huge part of this offense. This is actually a good response from Sam Howell. They're showing pressure pre-snap. The other one, they weren't showing as much pressure, but this time they're going to do this. Mug this gap. They'll drop out. Sometimes they'll bring the pressure, and they do. Gibson, know where your hot option is. That's a good adjustment. Those are things you got to be able to do against this defense. They will show it. They don't blitz a ton, but they will definitely be showing it. And when they do actually bring it, know where your hot options are to take advantage, because those things, it's going to happen at least once or twice throughout this next game. Washington goes empty again. See who they have to this side. Milano. They're basically trying to bracket with Milano and this safety. And I feel like if this receiver, like they're running routes, the Dolphins just will very rarely run. They might have someone sit down eventually and take a free zone if it's taken there. But also look at all this space created in the middle of the field. When you empty like this guy has to match number 3. He has to match number 2. These are linebacker advantages. Imagine that's Tyreek and that's Waddle. And this is the middle of the field that gets opened up because one goes out and the other one would go in. Wow. You have someone else push up vertically to take away a safety. There's definitely things McDaniel will see on this tape and be able to take advantage of. Too high, safety again. They go too high, you run the ball. 2nd and 4 situation. This is a running. You can easily run on this down. Brian Robinson makes an absolutely great play. They missed some tackles there, which is nice to see. Dolphins took a lot of advantage of that, them missing tackles. They leave the defensive end unblocked, running some zone read, and Robinson was playing actually pretty well. They were giving up runs. They're not the best. Their run defense is decent, but when they go too high, it definitely has the holes that can be. It's not like perfect, but I don't want to say it's bad either, because it's definitely not. But it's definitely I would say the weakness that you can be able to attack through this defensive unit. Then they get down in the red zone. Bills go quarters on a 2nd and 8, and they try to throw the double move. This ball ends up getting intercepted. I think they get the pressure up front. They only bring 4. They get the pressure very quickly, and I think Howell gets hit as he releases it, so the ball like flutters out and ends up being an interception. Not a comment, or not a place you would probably see, like a concept you would probably see the Dolphins run. There's definitely some areas that could be attacked. This route's dead. You probably throw it underneath. Look how much space is created to this side of the field, because this guy gets widened by the flat, and if this guy just sits there, but he works towards the middle. And I don't hate this option that he threw it to. There's actually an opportunity to throw this if he throws a little more to the inside and is throwing it right now as he's breaking. The ball just comes out super late, and he gets hit. So 2 is an anticipation thrower. I just see if the wide receiver and the QB are on the same page, there'll be a lot less opportunities for interceptions for the Dolphins, or for the Bills versus the Dolphins. Last play that we're going to break down, a 3rd and 5. This was the Sam Howell interception. to AJ Epinesa, who is a defensive end, and Howell just kept trying to escape the pocket too quickly. This ball could have been out so long ago. They're 3rd and 5. They're showing pressure pre-snap, and then they dip out of it. Still bring 4, but the linebacker is able to come in. They actually end up picking it up pretty nicely right there, but he tries to escape. I don't know why. He's pretty clean. He feels that pressure. He should be sliding. Tua is much more likely to slide and then just throw this right here. They left the drag open underneath. These are options to take this throw, but he tries to run and then throw it to him super late, but it gets picked right there. I think he gets the touchdown as well, but yeah. Don't know what Washington was doing. It's so bad. Like, you can kind of look at it from both sides. Like, Bills played great, but Washington played really horrible football. You look at the Dolphins-Broncos game, you can do the same thing. Dolphins played historically great, and the Broncos played historically bad. Now, which one translates better to more success in the future? Was it more of the Dolphins offense being successful or more of the Broncos defense being bad? Was it more of the Bills defense being successful or more of the Washington offense being bad? I think it's, it was a mix on both sides, but to me, I think it's a little more like, hey, this Dolphins offense, everyone struggled against. The Patriots did a decent job at least stopping from the scoring, but it's more of the Dolphins offense beats themselves than anything. There's opportunities to attack this defense. If you're going to attack this Dolphins offense, it's usually just them not being on the same page and beating themselves overall in the game. So if you guys know the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.